Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 194th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-host Bryant W. I would just like to thank everybody out there. We just passed 6,000 downloads here for the podcast, and we're down to exactly 3 weeks from today for the 1-year anniversary of this. So I'd just like to thank everybody who's tuned in or tuned out, who's liked, subscribed, followed, who's been part of the podcast, like this fine man here, Bryant, and just for all the amazing experiences that I've been blessed to have due to this podcast. Okay, so today's topic is relationship with self. And this was a topic that Brian was wholeheartedly engineering behind the scenes for weeks on end. And so I would like, Bryant, for you to say what this means to you and why you were happy to discuss this here today, cartwheels and all.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, and good to see you. And then also congratulations on how much you've done with this, and like to be in the closing in on 200 episodes is actually spectacular in 1 year. That's almost crazy.
I am crazy.
Yeah. That's like I thought that was 2 years.
No, it's almost pretty much 4 a week is what it works out to.
It's really beautiful. And then yeah, just referencing how many beautiful conversations you must have had during that time. It's pretty amazing. And to see so many people that are benefiting from this beautiful change in their life is really nice. So yeah, to the question. What an interesting thing, because I based my entire life on relationship with others. And depending on how I perceived that was going, would then determine how I felt about myself, because I would let that dynamic determine my value, or if I was accepted, if I was loved, if I was funny. And I don't know when it was, but I think I was 19 and I was like, oh man, I'm in some deep shit, because I felt like I was like, I definitely have a problem with alcohol and I am not happy. And I started realizing that there was something fundamentally unwell within me. And then it took a lot longer to understand what was truly happening there. And then I'll also shed light on the fact that without a healthy relationship with yourself, I don't think we have, it's a very strange thing, but this whole concept of a higher power, the more you get to know yourself, I think the more you get to know it. But the only reason to get to know yourself is to get to know it. It's very strange. And so I think like it determines how you show up at work, how you show up for your friends, how you show up for yourself, what you eat, what you say, where you go. I think your relationship with yourself, which mine was fundamentally not okay. I had a really damaged sense of identity for a while. And over time, living within the realm of what we call spiritual principles, or just living an esteemable life where you don't have regret all the time and shame. That's basically my tiny intro, or else I'll be giving up all the information too soon. But that relationship with you is so important. And I think on this planet, we have it a little backwards. So that's all I have to say for that right now.
Woo, that man's a sizzler. He's like bacon in a frying pan. That's right. Relationship with self was incredible that you picked this topic yesterday.
Really?
I was literally driving, listening to Gabor Mate, and he was talking about this book by Jason Schwartz, OCD, which involves 4 steps for changing like an addictive behavior, like OCD is, but also using it for addiction. And it was literally talking about mindfulness and the awareness of yourself. And so it's like that relationship with self evolves from our unconscious reaction to our conscious awareness. And
Correct.
and like our addiction is basically rooted in our self-centered fear, ruled by the ego and its attempted disconnection of us with the world. Really, in a
Yes, because in order for it to be there, it has to be separate.
That's right. And so through the steps, we start to observe rather than be consumed by that ego. And
Yes.
and and mindfulness allows us to witness those thoughts and emotions without judgment, like creating space for growth.
Yeah.
And so, like the ego's there resisting surrender. And you know how pro surrender I am, right? And
Yeah, you
it's
love it.
clinging to control and image and separation. But the observation, that self observation in particular, it's like a spiritual act of watching with compassion and learning to respond instead of react.
Yeah.
And, it becomes less about control and more about acceptance, less about performance and more
Yeah.
about presence. And
Yeah.
uh, and I think that this awareness is one of the pathways to freedom for us. And so, like where we're not fighting with that self anymore, but we're learning to kind of observe with grace in a way that we never had the strength to, or the inclination, or the knowledge, or the tools, or like for me, I can just think of like how blind I was to
Yeah, it's a
watching
very
that part of
striving
myself.
energy. It's a very striving energy.
Well, like I've heard a lot of people say it's like you can smash the ego, but it's the fastest growing root in mankind, or weed. It's the fastest growing weed in mankind. You
Well,
know,
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it goes from being invisible to insidious to seen. And there's this idea of extermination and you can't.
Yeah, and it's fundamentally it's impossible. Like it's part of us, whether we like it or not. But
Yeah.
how we learn to observe it and manage it, and also love it for what it is, Because I think if we don't have some kind of forgiveness or acceptance or love in the end for it, like ultimately for me, if I'm going to learn to love completely, my
Yeah.
ego and my faults are part of me that I have to love.
I agree with that.
And without that, I'll never get to that self forgiveness that I'm trying to get to. So I'm wondering, do you want to start the questions or do you want me to start the questions? You look like you're ready to fire a question. Oh, look
Um,
at him, Magnum PI.
why not? Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, here, just a very nice introduction. What was the moment when realization kicked in and you noticed that your relationship with yourself needed change?
Well, I really would like to say it was sooner, but it was during step 4.
Ooh,
It was right. It was
mighty
right.
step forward.
It was right when my part was everything in all my problems.
Yeah, you.
And I realized, first of all, that I successfully deceived myself about reality in order to enable using. But I also successfully deceived myself about reality in order to promote, like, externalizing my problems. Like, if you're to blame, I got no work to do. I'm the good guy in every scene if I can make you the villain. And I had successfully done that with everybody in my life. Like I was expecting apologies and I was the one out there making amends afterwards. So it was
Yeah,
definitely in step 4. Like I just honestly really had no inclination inside my addiction to go looking, and I also had no tools to go searching for what it was.
no
and
doubt.
and and then since then, it's probably there was probably like a rebirth of that actual taking a look at myself in the great resurrendering of March 2025, where
Mhm.
also too I began to sort of pray gratitudes. And it was like at that point I was realizing that there was a fundamental lack of appreciation happening. Even if I was good at the list, I wasn't good at the list in the day in my heart. And
Okay.
and that
Yeah.
was necessary. And then a great resource for me has been this two-way prayer. Like I started that let's see, one, two, three, no, 1, 2, 3, almost 4 months ago now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've missed one day, and that's only because I'm stupid and forgetful.
Can't
Not
believe you
because
did that.
not because I was like, oh, fuck this for today. Like it was just like,
Yeah.
holy shit, it's tomorrow and I didn't do it yesterday. I was very
Yeah.
disappointed in myself. But one of the things inside that is that I'm taking these responses and I'm taking even what I'm asking and I'm holding them up to that honest, pure, unselfish, and loving.
Yeah.
And that causes me to put a greater filter on my thoughts and actions,
Yeah.
just inherently. Like like they say it's really painful to have a belly full of AA, or mindful of AA and a belly full of alcohol, because it's like that you get that conflict of what's occurring. Well, like that can happen without a relapse. Like you can see, whoa, hold on,
Of course. Yeah.
I'm not practicing these principles in all my
Oh,
affairs.
definitely. Yeah.
And the more you look, the more it's apparent. So I think I'll leave that one there. I think I might have run on sentenced a bit long, but
No. No, that makes a lot of sense. I love that you brought in step four because that is, you may have been disappointed with yourself or wished you had acted differently or been embarrassed or whatever. But when you see that during that four and you get like some really clear insight into the pathway back to who's responsible, it's like, whoop, big moment. I also referencing, you actually changed your name.
oh yeah, I'm fat faced Starcic here.
I just noticed that. Um, I love that. Yeah, step 4. It's, I think it saved my life, and, I'll echo that actually. I'm trying to think. I kinda had some pretty clear, like, if it said, "When was the moment?"
Hmm.
I had a moment. Oh, I won't get into it. Like,
Yes, you will.
mini story, essentially, like,
Get into it.
at the tail end of a relationship right before, I ended up finding my way to sober, it became really clear that like, whoa, like this is not how I want to live. I was full of anxiety. I was drinking like crazy. My relationship ended. There was some other stuff going on, and I was just like, whoa, like how did I get into this? Like how did I get into this place when like in my mind and in my heart I thought I cared so much about people, and I thought that I was like trying my best and all this other stuff, and like not even close. So it was like that, the ingredients of that, plus I was on a career path where not only did I take a lot of pride in it, but I also was putting my life at risk. So I had to be like very careful. Um, like not to be dramatic, but like being unhealthy or like unsafe was like not something that would go over very well in this specific line of work. And so yeah, and then getting into like that nasty ingredients that were what you would call a bottom, even though I had had much worse things happen before that. This was like, it was more of a like mind and soul kind of recognition of like, this isn't who I want to be. And that's when I went and realized fundamentally, yes, there's other stuff going on here, but like if I don't stop drinking, I'm never ever gonna ever be the person I want to be. Like I started realizing like, okay, there's more going on. I have pain, I have stuff within me in my soul and mind, but like alcohol has been so glaringly dysfunctional for the last decade or 15 years. And so I finally asked for help with that. And then I got to do something like a step 4. And then you really know the realization that the relationship with yourself needed to change.
I love that.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay. You ready
Something
for a
like that.
question from me?
Please.
Okay. Mindfulness teaches us that the self is not the enemy, but the observer of experience. How has your ability to witness your thoughts without judgment changed your recovery?
That's an amazing question. And like the old me wouldn't have even knew what that meant.
Hmm.
I
But what
think
does
there's
the new you think?
the new me is just happy that that question exists because I know that that's basically so incredibly important to even detaching from that self that you just described. Not the previous thing. It's basically the most like fundamental thing. There's books like The Power of Now and The Untethered Soul and all these books, and it's all about identification with the mind and a story we tell ourselves about ourselves of who we are. And if something threatens that, we get upset. And if we're not invited, we don't feel like we're, how dare you, and like all this other stuff. And like that's a very insecure identification because it's leaving out so much, but it's also so fragile, right? And so the observation, they would call that maybe step 11. Once you're gifted with the knowledge of what the problem is, then you become the observer because now you can see the contrast. It's like I used to do this and I want to do that, and then when you know this is the problem and you're not doing this, you can start untangling that. So witnessing your thoughts is critical. Meditation, I've been doing this for a while, and it's actually, I think you have to do it so diligently that you almost have to be like a bit of a tyrant with your own mind, or else it's going to be a tyrant with you. Like when people talk
Mhm.
about the cage and the monkey and the squirrel and all that and the circus in the head, it's like people are basically saying like my mind has a hit out on me for some reason, and it's like constantly feeding me negative information about myself and other people. Like what is that? And if you identify with that, you're emotionally getting entangled in that entire conversation. So detangling, untangling.
Untangling. I think it's like detangled is like the state of something that has been untangled.
So I'm somewhat detangled. I think tangle is my new favorite word.
I'm going to call you Tony Tangler.
The tangle. Um, so yeah, it's like I basically couldn't escape from this story I told myself about who I was, and the story wasn't very good, so I wasn't very good. And then I had to realize that like trying to make a story that makes you good might take a while and it may never happen. So to to have the requirement of goodness be based the tangler. Yeah, so to be good based on a story and to have a specific outcome in order for goodness to be you, that is outrageously unrealistic, and I would have been in some deep shit. So I had to get away from that and watch, like you said, and witness how this operation is happening with the thoughts and these the heart responding to that, and far better off from it. I don't know if there's more to the question.
I think you did a great job.
Okay,
I think, don't worry, I'm not grading here, although you will get a final score at the end.
I
Yes.
can't wait.
Okay, so mindfulness teaches us that self is not the enemy, but the observer of experience. How has my ability to witness my thoughts without judgment changed my recovery? Well,
Okay, good.
um, it has it has been through that step work of kind of taking that honesty and humility and stepping back, and quite frankly, the pen to paper on the step work allowed me to kind of write things down as I was discovering them, and through their chart process and everything like that, where it was like a little bite at a time, and
Yes.
allowing me to do that has been able to be a journey of self-discovery, quite frankly, where I can actually be in an uncomfortable situation. I may
Yeah.
not I may not react in a way that I'm proud of at that, but I will be able to look at that after. I will be able to, like witness my thoughts and be like, "Hey, what was it that I actually got angry at? What was my motivation? What was my fears behind that?" And
Yes,
then,
sir.
and then start to actually work in those directions that
Yeah.
that will help me towards freedom. one of the things that thing I was listening to right when Bryant sent me this topic yesterday, it was like this four-step thing for helping on OCD. And I may misquote the hell out of it now because I've only listened to it once, but
Yes.
and I was driving and hopefully keeping myself alive and not killing others. But the very first thing is to actually honestly call like that behavior what it is, like this is me being mean to Bryant, like as opposed to like I'm just reacting in a way that I deserve or having some kind of justification for it, and then to take that awareness one step further. And so what Bryant was talking about, about paying, like being vigilant really, is that you have to pay attention all the time because your brain is going to try to slide stuff past you in the form of like, a wolf in sheep's clothing. But
Mm.
when we first of all are vigilant about calling it what it is, then one of the steps they say to do is to then identify the source of it. Oh, that's my brain or my ego telling
Yeah.
me a lie right now, you know?
Yeah.
And so now it's not like I'm a bad person because I thought this, or I'm a bad person because I did this. I'm a bad person. Like, I just actually acted on an impulse that my brain told me to do because of a pattern that was developed earlier in my life. Like, it doesn't, like, it takes the villain for yourself out of it and
No
allows
question.
you to move forward on that,
Yeah.
And then you can start to try to replace that action and actually have a committed response in another direction.
That's the key part. Yeah.
That is like, and then after that, then we can hold hands and we can sing songs and dance all day.
Well, exactly, because it proves that isn't who I am. That's the pattern that I was doing, and I'm choosing to change.
So, like the ability to witness my thoughts without judgment is slowly and surely over time. I am not trying to profess that I am some kind of guru. Bryant knows from many a phone call that I have up and I have down, just like the elevator of life. But the thing about it is though, is that now I can look at it I can look at it like and try to at least impartially look at it
Yeah.
and actually just see it for fundamentally what it is and not
Yeah.
allow
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like it doesn't have to steal my joy for the day.
Totally, man.
Like all it is like that was a reaction. I can pull out of that reaction and now I can look at it and I can be different, you know? And
Absolutely.
I'm,
Well, and I
hopefully
think
that is
that's
it.
the good news, or whatever you would call that's the solution, right?
Well, I think what it is too is that I think that a lot of people, especially like middle-aged to older adults who are battling something, they start to feel like they're hopeless. And it's proven that even as a senior, you can rewire your brain against these things. Like they have clinical studies proven that our brains can be rewired with neuroplasticity
Well,
even at an
yeah.
old age, you
Well,
know?
yeah. What would be the point? I mean, there's obviously decline and things that break down when you're older, but like it would be a shame if like all the wisdom then had no outlet for change just because you're older.
I know, but after so many times of failing, people start to believe in that negative perspective.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah, a
Why?
much
Because
longer winded
why? Because I
identity.
mean, even if they're statistically minded, look at the percentage of failures, 100%. And people need to know that it's probably just that they didn't have the right tools for change.
I think that that's very, very well said. And it's that whole concept of waiting for the world to change.
And also, one point that it made was that you like we might not have had the tools to change, but we also might not have had the commitment to change. Like instead of like seeing a relapse as a moral failure, you see it as like an attempt and a failed attempt, but like now move on to the next attempt. You know,
Yeah.
like if you made it 5 minutes, that was 5 minutes you didn't make it. So maybe you can make it 10 minutes. And then once you make it 10 minutes, you know that 10 minutes is achievable. It might not be achievable 100% of the time, but if you're committed to trying, it will become more and more and more and more percent of the time. You know, like I've had some
Very
friends
important.
who
It's
who
important.
who relapsed and were high 1 week out of a year. But that was the least they've been high in a year in 15 years.
Yeah,
Like
let's
there
go.
has to be credit for progress, you know?
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just, I can't dabble. Like I can't dabble. And
No,
so my commitment level has been 100%.
exactly.
That's all.
Well, yeah, until that occurs, there's a lack of access to more.
Yeah. Well, and I just don't, I think that the second we use or drink, we lose our connection to the universe. And then we're starting to reconnect from that point again.
The withering shrub.
Tell us about the withering shrub, Jan Tangler.
Is that the question?
No, no, but you were talking about the withering shrub. I wanted you to
Oh,
tell
just
the
like a
audience.
I just want it to sound funny.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a parable.
Well, it is a parable. You could say it about fruit or
Okay.
anything. Literally, the main dog on planet Earth, Mr. Jesus, said, "You're cut off from the vine," and that's
Hmm.
what he was talking about.
Yeah. There you go.
And
Okay.
it's not that complicated. It's like, yeah, if you cut yourself off with guilt and shame or substances or patterns that keep you isolated and vibrate, like the vibratory kind of like you're that
Harmony.
separate that yeah, you're this separate, buzzing, anxious, isolated, scared, angry, lonely person. You have been cut off from the vine, which is like you said, the universe, which then I called the shriveling shrub. Or
Uh,
withering?
I don't know whether you call it shriveling or withering. It was funny though. But I'm glad you described that. And so, do you now have a second question, Tony Tangler, aka El Tanglito?
Before you got sober or clean, how would you describe your relationship with yourself? Your self-talk, your identity, how you saw your own worth?
Oof. I can think of like the ruminations and muttering to myself. And it was like, kind of like lie, like, Andrew says it really good. He says one half of him selling like the best bullshit in town and the other
Yeah,
half's
yeah, yeah.
buying it as fast as it can. And I literally was that. Like, if, what I've discovered through my step work was that I was buying a lot of bullshit about others, about the external world, about why I wasn't happy,
Yeah,
and that relationship with self was one of deception. It was keeping me um it was keeping me in unconscious reactions, and
yeah,
and it was really separating me from others because they were the source of my discontentment instead of actually having any ownership of that. And like I had no way to actually see that that was a big fat liar in my life.
yeah,
I thought that the way I felt was definitely based on the truth of my experience.
right.
And it was totally like fueled by deceptive motives, even from myself. Like my addiction was
Yeah,
so strong that it was like I was deluding myself. I
yeah.
was deluding.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Maybe I need this more than you, but like I almost just want to take a very quick pause and like think about that. Like, oh, that's so tiring.
It was exhausting.
Yeah.
It was
You know?
exhausting, and
Oh
and
my God.
and like, I was writing a song about joy today.
Yeah.
I was writing a song about joy today,
Yeah.
and and the reality is like there wasn't joy in those days because
No.
I was so hung up on resentments and perpetuating them. Like
Yeah.
I literally, used the pity part, a perpetual pity party.
Dude,
I was like a free energy machine of pity party, where I was like my pity party just.
you could literally pick a career based on resentment.
Oh, oh yeah.
Like we make major decisions in our lives, like trying to prove things and outsmart things and show people things, you know? It's like I'm going to show this my uncle and my dad that I am stronger than they ever told me I was. It's like, God, like make sure you're not like careful.
Yeah, like wasting your whole life. And so, like now I don't know. I see, I see myself and as someone who definitely needs to heal, but it's like, through this slow process which has been slightly accelerated recently of self-forgiveness, it's allowing me to just um give out some grace that I wasn't
Ooh.
capable of before. And
I didn't know you had a little supply of grace. I want some.
it's $15 a gram.
That's not imagine you become a merchant. Well, you just became a grace merchant.
I think I'm a grace hoarder,
Yeah, yeah.
which
Holy
by
moly.
definition would be impossible.
I think this might be one of my favorite moments. Uh,
Yeah, so I think that's it for me on that one. What about
I didn't
you?
mean to interrupt you like in the middle there, but I just wanted to like acknowledge when you said that, man, I felt like, oh, like I can't believe we used to live like that, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Scary.
It was so crazy. Okay, you got to answer your question now. I'm just
Yeah,
going to take
before
off my shirt, so I'm unplugging for a sec, but keep rolling.
your shirt. Um, so yeah, for me, my relationship was very much based in I really don't like it, but I was insecure. Like, and that's okay because I didn't fully understand it, but like how I connected with the group, um, how my dad looked at me, like all these little things, like just a stare from my dad, which there were some stares that were like not very helpful, but like I would just fall apart. You know what I mean? Like it was very fragile. I used to say a lot of negative things. I will just say by the time I was 18, I didn't like myself. You hear that a lot. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't think that I had a lot to offer. All these other things. I don't even know. It's so crazy. Cuz like even now it's like I just see things so differently and the other main thing about my old self was that the future, it was always something in the future. Like if I get this, or if I do that, or if I write that, or if they tell me this, or if they respond to that, or if I get this, like constantly. If this happens, then I'll be okay. If this happens, then I'll be okay. And like I thought like somebody would like tap me on the shoulder and be like, young man, I see so much potential in you. I'm going to offer you this position in my company and everything's going to work out for you. The same way I fooled myself that when I got sober that everything would work out for me. And I guess they do, but like I didn't think certain things would happen and guess what? They've all happened. And guess what? Guess what? They've been very scary and painful. And guess what? I can't drink and I can't use that as my solution and wow, you know? So the old me was fragile, insecure, and very future based. I was very susceptible to what I thought other people were doing and saying about me. I was very, ooh, what did you say? You know, like, you know what I mean? Just like hung up on the approval of others. It was very unhealthy, but it came from a good place. I just wanted to be loved, respected, and appreciated, like those fundamental human things. You know, I wanted to belong. I wanted to be significant to somebody. I wanted my family to respect me. So they came from a good place, but they came from a broken place because I was putting the leverage of whether they did or didn't respond the way that I needed them to in order to feel okay about myself. And I think that's the biggest change, you know?
I do, and like my experience with my current sponsor, like all those roles are actually your responsibility, not theirs.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I never had the insight for that before, like I thought there was a fundamental I deserve level in things.
yeah.
And and
That's a tricky one. Yeah.
it's a tricky one, but the reality is this is like, I believe that our friends and lovers are the people whose faults we accept, right?
Oh, thank
And
God.
and when we start assigning roles, like when we start assigning roles, there's no end to it.
Yeah.
And you may think that there's a reasonable end to your role assignment, but nobody else is going to feel the same thing about that line you've drawn.
Yep.
They were like, it was 2 miles back, motherfucker. You're stepping all
Yeah.
over my soul, you
Hmm.
know? And
Hmm.
and 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 fundamentally, I do believe that that's what keeps us from true intimacy with others is not knowing who they are because of what we're expecting them to be. And we're so programmed to deliver what other people expect that
Yep.
they're scared shitless of being themselves around us.
Ooh.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Mr.
Go for
Tony the Tangler.
it.
Like, I think you should just have like dreadlocks and be like Tony the Tangler. Okay.
Hey, look, I've got one party coming up on Friday, and after that, I'm growing my hair out and getting dreads.
Wow. Are you? I
I'm
had
just kidding.
dreads. I got some good pictures, man. I could show you some big
You're
chunky
funny.
dreads.
I don't think I could. Go for it.
Okay. So ego thrives on dreads. No, ego thrives on ego thrives on separation. Awareness thrives on connection. When do you notice your ego trying to isolate you from others and the truth?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Every day I have at least a few encounters. I feel a lot of pressure to go to things that I don't really want to go to sometimes. I feel like boundaries with family members and things, I get tested there because I'm like challenged with that. Like, am I not a good guy if I don't do this? Or like, what's God's will in this? Like, that's my mom. Like, I probably should. And then it's like, yeah, but it took you 30 years to realize like you've been doing it this way and it didn't work. So maybe you should trust that after all that experience that you're doing it this way for a reason and not feel guilty. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So stuff like that. And then just like that striving again, like, am I doing enough? My body should look a little different. Um, why am I tired? I used to be able to do this and I wasn't even tired. Why am I tired? Um, should I answer the phone? Why haven't they called? I'm scared. Yeah. Stuff like that. And it happens at least a couple times a day. I'm like, should I do this? Should I do that? If I was like, about songs, you write songs every day. I've got this tune that I'm like really proud of actually, and only because it's an actual song. I usually write like partial songs, but this is a song that I think when I finally do it, and I'm like, why haven't you finished it? And like then I'm like, yeah, but why are you worried about what are you gonna do with the song? Like, why are you putting pressure on the song? And like, you're not still thinking that you're gonna do something with music, are you? And it's like, whoa, like maybe just
Yeah.
enjoy writing the song, and maybe there's only one day you need to worry about, and that's today. And like, are you going to work on the song or not,
Yeah.
my friend? That kind of shit.
Yeah.
That's what
I
it's
love
like
it.
up here.
Ooh, are you done?
I'm gonna call it done.
Okay, when do I notice my ego trying to isolate me from others and from truth?
Yeah,
You know, I think, to be quite honest, from recent experiences, it would be like when the ego's threatened by the potential of me changing patterns that would lessen its control of my thoughts.
oh
You
son of
know,
a
like
horse.
I've mentioned on the podcast a few times, just a couple different things that were kind of standing in the way of the step six part of we're entirely ready. And quite frankly, there was a massive resistance inside me to just follow old patterns, you know?
That makes
And
sense. Yeah.
and you know, like it's like, whoa, this is safe. You might be an asshole, but you're a safe asshole. You know, like, and it's not in those exact words or that voice. He's more of like a Weasley voice, kind of like the rat off Charlotte's Web. But you
Is
know,
that
Milton Berles,
Templeton?
Milton Berles, yeah, Milton Berles was the voice of that. But you know, and then um, I think also when it tries to isolate me from others or from truth, when it's something that's going to hurt me to see. You know, like I think a lot of people don't follow through on their step four because, you know, although it leads to liberation, you have to walk through a little bit of fire. You know, you're
Oh,
getting a
dude,
little bit burned on the edges of like, shit, it's me. Shit, it's me.
it's
And
profoundly. Yeah, no, it's a lot for people.
it's a lot, but you know, like the human species is designed to avoid pain.
Mhm.
Whether it's spiritual pain, whether it's emotional pain, whether it's physical pain. Why do you think people buy gym passes and don't make it to the gym? Not because they don't want to be in shape, but because it's actually like, oh, that actually hurts. And then their body's like, you really think, you know, we got a sandwich over here. You really want to go to the gym? You know, and the ego's like, hey, I can make you think you're a good guy without you actually understanding that you're flawed. You know,
Yeah,
and I'm like, whoa, I really like good guy. Can I be good guy? You
yeah,
know, and so I think that it isolates me from others because it's it's letting me create resentments that separate me from them. You know, like, and the reality is that if I was just loving completely, I would see that we're all one instead
yeah.
of us being separate. And instead, like isolation is entirely here. If I if I think that we are not all one, and I shouldn't love you like and love me like everything is the same,
It's
like
a
that's
tough one. It takes a lot of maturity, actually.
it takes a lot of maturity, but like you know, like I think like the Gabor Mate was saying in that thing is it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of commitment to stepping through that fire over and over because that's the only way we rewire our brain, just like the way we wired it. We wired it through multi experiences in one direction. We have to now rewire it in another way, and that takes repetition. So
Yeah, it's funny.
how many times you gonna put your hand on the burner on the stove? You know, you'll do it once and
Probably,
then you'll be like, "Ooh, that hurts." But would you
yeah, a
do it
couple
50
hundred.
times if it meant
Yeah.
that you would be able to do it forever?
Well, I fully admit if there weren't consequences and a whole lot of physical pain, I never would have stopped drinking. No way.
Yeah. Well, and you know, yeah, for sure. Like if my health didn't go downhill, if my relationships weren't where they were, you know, like if it,
Like
gosh,
if it had worked, probably would have kept going.
exactly. But the problem is that no mind altering substance does what it promises forever.
I also think that I think it's a another very good indicator that we live in a just and like integral universe. Like, thank God that didn't work because
Yeah.
we learn after that it wasn't just like, oh, the drugs didn't work or the alcohol didn't work. We, having looked back, recognize our own failures as people within that as well. So it's like the wisdom is, oh, I get a chance to change. Oh, I was actually a very selfish and like arrogant person. So you see the wisdom in the whole damn thing. And like if we lived in a universe where you could master alcoholism, we'd be in some deep shit.
Well, I think we would definitely be isolated because everybody would hate each other after a while, you know?
Yeah. Do you
Like,
think there'd be more or less children?
oh, if everybody was more wasted, there'd be more children, but
I think so.
they'd be more traumatized, unhappy children.
There'd be more
I,
feral children.
I grew up in Oshawa. I could prove to you that there'll be more children and more unhappy, traumatized children.
That the schwa.
Yeah, like that just in itself is like you want to see the effects of addiction gone wild and societal implications of negligence and trauma. Just go to South Oshawa, man. Cross Bloor Street at night. Have fun with that.
Oh, man, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Okay, so you got another question for me,
I
Jan
do.
Tangles.
You call me Yawn Tangles?
Yes, Jan Tangler. Jan.
I like that. Okay.
Yon, if you're wondering. It's not
Okay.
a J.
What practices and habits have helped you cultivate self-compassion, self-trust in this new way of life
Ooh, self-compassion
and trust?
and self-trust. Okay, so I think that I gotta maybe address each one separately for a minute in my brain. Like the self-compassion has been a hard won battle, and you know that has come really from the practice of trying to learn to surrender more,
Mm,
trying to really take a look at myself with a deeper level of inventory. You know, I was kind of almost doing three different methods of step four recently, all at the same time, and so I called it my three-dimensional view of it. But it really let me get some insight as to what's holding me back in different directions. And a big thing was that piece on self forgiveness.
yeah.
And, you know, I'm really grateful for one of these podcasts because the difference between empathy and compassion is empathy is I understand what you're feeling. Compassion is I understand what you're feeling with the desire to help make it better. And so empathy for myself, like I could understand what I was feeling, but I didn't have a wholehearted desire to help myself. It was almost like I was sitting in a point of like, well, you're where you deserve to be, and you know,
Yeah.
and that was a lack of self forgiveness, and so
Okay.
it's taken me a lot of reflection, a lot of surrender, a lot of prayer, but you know, to be able to step back and say, you know what, actually, I'm ready to forgive myself now. You know, and I'm not sure I can do it because, like removing any other defect, surrender's proven the only effective method for me. You know, for my addiction, for
Yeah.
my fear of anxiety, for my anger. You know, the biggest help that I get is inside surrendering it and stepping back from it, and really, I would say that stepping back and that awareness with the ego, right? Like that truly is surrendering. Like that to me is like what surrender actually feels like is to
Okay.
become the observer and not the feeler of that. You know, like to be able to observe the action and without judgment, man, that like, you know, kind of like patience is surrender in real time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I would say that, you know, that's what I'm going to say on self-compassion. But the self-trust, I think, doesn't even start without starting to do more esteemable things. You know, like why would I trust myself when I've lied to myself and others in every interaction before in my life
Oh,
until I can
massive.
start until I can start to build up a series of esteemable things and see myself actually changing, you know,
Yeah.
like dude, my talk was cheap coming into sobriety
Mm,
and especially to myself,
yeah. It was
and
probably.
especially after doing the step work. Like that just showed me how great of a bullshitter I was, that it's like, you know, young Gabriel and I became calibration brothers, and him and I were just talking about this like 3 days ago because he actually uses that when he's helping the people at the center to try and get them to have somebody to bounce things off of,
Yeah.
you know, like that buddy system, because like we are not trustworthy confidants for ourselves to start out in recovery for.
Yeah, and you have to have someone that can allow you to still be somewhere in the middle without judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to even say, hey, like Brian, I'm thinking this, and it looks like a pretty good thing, and you're like, full of self, gonna hurt someone. Please don't do that. That's my
Yeah.
mother, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
but but you know, like so. I think for me, the self trust is something that is a work in progress, and much like the self compassion, but the self trust is only coming from a body of evidence, really. Like,
Absolutely.
it's not coming from ideology, it's not coming from words, it's coming from living an ideology, you
Yeah.
know? Practicing those principles in all my affairs. And that is one of the things that is the most difficult about this quest for loving completely, is
Yeah.
that I'm sure that I may never ever achieve it. But I still have to give myself credit that, hey, I was kind there. I might not have been patient, but I was kind. Or,
Yeah.
you know, like, I let that resentment go as fast as I was thinking it, you know,
Yeah.
versus hanging on to that all day. Like there is an evolution happening, and I do believe that, you know what? This is one thing I realized today. I'm going to sidebar right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the First Corinthians 13, it says, "Love is not proud," right? And
Yeah.
I hear people say, "You know what? I'm proud of my recovery," right? I realized this morning when I was reading this, it's like I'm not proud of my recovery. I'm happy about my recovery. My recovery gives me joy. Like I don't need for you to hold it up at all. Like I don't need it for it to be like a golden chalice that someone says, "Oh, Milan's doing really good in his recovery." Like
Sure.
I don't give a flying shit about that. But what I do give a shit about is the feeling of joy, contentment, serenity, and love that it brings my life, you know.
Yeah.
And so and in a sidebar, so in that respect, it's like
I know what you
I
mean.
I I trust myself to have the courage to stay straight today. So
Yeah.
today, my self trust extends to
Well, yeah.
my commitment to being clean and sober.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you hit a bunch of really good things and important things. Yeah, I think like I look at it as like the doorway to have the ability to have pride in your life, and like the word, like everything else, can be the negative pride, or like I hold my head up. I walk with confidence. I mean what I say. I
Hmm.
I I mean it. Like, no, like those things required the pride that comes from a foundation that I think comes from the doorway of sobriety. And like when
I
we
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry. No, you
No, no.
finish.
I would love to hear it. I was gonna
No, go go.
well, and then you talked about the trust. So like we talked about the withering bush, or the essentially like the mechanism of that separate self, as well as like not being able to, if you think about, if everything is sort of like an emanation of like whatever's vibrating within you, like if you don't trust yourself, you're projecting that into every fucking thing you do, whether you believe it or not. You're going to be skeptical. You're going to be what's the word,
Dubious.
sure, and what's the
Carry
when you,
dubiosity.
yeah, like it's subtle. Most of these things are subconscious. Like it's if you can't trust yourself, you're in some deep shit, because it adds so much to that cutting you off from the vine.
Mm.
So that self-trust is so important, and it also protects you, because it takes that capacity for others to throw you off as well. So it connects you, it gives you faith. It's all connected. You can't have all this like, oh, I have so much faith, and not trust yourself. You need faith to learn to trust yourself, and you get faith when you trust yourself. And those things are like deeply connected because those it's like literally fundamental to your capacity to walk forward in courage while you're facing fear, because you're not going to just be full of fear, anxious, and disconnected, and then just like, okay, full of faith and know everything's going to work out. Like, there's going to be a large bridge in between where you come up against yourself, you get put into situations where other people test your ability to walk out what you think you've learned. You may lose things, you may go through a bout of poor health. Like, it's really easy to be full of fear again, and I think that's where the self-compassion and that trust is not only cultivated but put to work. Like, it's where you get to actually feel the fruit of that.
I would like to just say one last thing on pride and proud.
Yeah.
I really think that the intention of the meaning in say that biblical thing there, and when they discuss being proud or being prideful as a bad thing, it is the element of comparison, right? Like like I can experience a great deal of joy because of something. It becomes pride the second I compare it. Like my recovery could give me an immense amount of joy. It becomes proud when I compare it to Bryant's recovery and think that mine is better. Like I can actually experience a great amount of joy of Bryant's recovery because I do. I'm totally stoked he's in recovery. And
Yeah.
I'm totally amazed by what I've been able to experience and learn from him. And I'm not like, man, I wish I had the recovery Bryant had. Like, and then that negative pride is also pride in itself. And that,
Sure.
and so I really believe that the biblical sense and also the AA literature negative speaking about pride or being proud is involving comparison. And I just,
Yeah.
for me, and if somebody wants to call in or email me or whatever and prove me wrong, let's do a podcast on it because I really think it involves comparison.
Yeah. It could be a lot of things for sure. I think comparison's a very important piece of what you said, and like superiority. Um,
Superiority is comparison.
it could come down to like even that idea of like how to tie a knot. It's like I do it this way, and like it's the same knot, but I put it over this side because I'm left-handed, and it's like
But
which
that would
knot
be,
is
but that you feeling of special uniqueness due to it is a comparison in
yeah, or
itself.
the other person not being able to accept that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
it like just for me, I just really think that when they say comparison is the thief of joy, it truly, truly is. Because
yeah.
then you're always comparing. And where's the moments of satiation?
That's that's I guess when you recover your own freedom.
Boom. Boom. Hear that first right here, everybody. Okay,
So
is it my question or yours?
it is yours.
Okay. This is a good one. I think you'll like this anyway. The big book says our troubles are of our own making, but awareness gives us a way to respond instead of react. How has awareness helped you transform old emotional reflexes into conscious choices?
Can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
How has awareness helped you transform old emotional reflexes into conscious choices?
Yeah. Oh lordy. So I was a being made up of attachments, and my sense of connection came from some very specific things, like my mom, my community, my cousins, my school. And so you derive that sense of connection from the environment. And so I basically determined, I mean, you're like this little raindrop floating around on the earth, and it can be kind of scary. And then you realize through experience over time, like, oh shit, like there's not that many people that love me. There aren't that many people that understand me. Like I can't just go knock on my friend's door and go live with that family. So you start realizing like you've been given a hand in life. Um and so much of it is how you determine your connection and how you feel connected, which I think is fundamental to like a human being feeling safe and healthy and functioning the way that we were designed to be. And then there's this whole concept of connecting with the higher power. So you take that away from the fragility of other human beings, and you start leaning into and having faith in something bigger than people. But until that occurs, you're at the mercy of these very fragile systems. And so you have to grant, on top of that, the same opportunity that you've been granted to make mistakes and hurt people and screw up and, contaminate wonderful things, but also absorb unnecessarily things that were never intended for you to absorb. So all that required the awareness, like in your question, like it took so many different like failures and disappointments and like there was just so many things that went into me being like, oh gosh, like I cannot keep trying to get my nutrition from this way, like doing it this way. So it took a really long time to tune out of the old system of like you, me, why am I not feeling the connection I'm looking for? And then kind of reconnecting with me to a point where like there's stability in me, like there's a wholeness here that can't be taken anymore from these old systems. And then on top of that, I'm constantly trying to draw in nearer to what gave me this in the first place, which is a combination of sobriety, esteemable action, um growing new sense of like purpose and usefulness, and then also like seeking, but in a nice way, not like that I need to understand the secrets of the universe so that I can finally understand who I am. Like, no, like I believe that I'm looked after if I live in alignment with these integral things that actually, through experience, prove to you this doesn't work, this does work. And so I'm trying to lean into that, those God-given instincts in a healthy way, but also tap into this God that I'm learning to understand and trust on a deeper level.
Oof.
Yeah.
That was a brainful, Mister
Yeah, I have
Tangler.
no idea. Yeah. Did the Tangler. That was tangled.
That was quite a tangled web you wove, but I loved how you pulled it together with the long fingers of the law there at the end.
Real, man.
Okay, so how has awareness helped me transform old emotional reflexes into conscious choices? You know, like much like Bryant was saying, like I feel like I'm a culmination of my life experiences, right? And
Yeah.
many of which I believed, for good, bad, or ugly, like what other people told me, what consumerism told me, like what the 10,000 commercials a year
Yeah,
told
exactly.
me, what the sitcom showed
Absolutely.
me as a good relationship, you know, um, and
Oh
and
gosh,
these
yeah.
gave me erroneously placed goals, that were not really pointed at contentment, joy, serenity, connection, anything that I now actually value. It was pointing me at more, and
Yes.
and and that level of more, like that emotional reflex was like, I want more out of you because I deserve it. I was
Yeah.
it was literally the opposite of what I believe now a relationship to be. Like, like I was literally allowed in the old days to hand you a script and be like, this is what I deserve. And just be like, and you're not delivering. So now
Yeah, this
I'm
is where you didn't meet my criteria.
and
Yeah.
now this face is your fault, not mine, because I'm not the one making it. You made me like this today, Bryant.
Yeah.
And like you want to look at this when you come home from work. Look at this
Look
face.
what I've done to you.
Look what Bryant did. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hold on, it's this way. I go, oh, look, I'm just happy again. Why? Because he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and I can do whatever I want. You
Yeah.
know, um, is that to say that you're supposed to just sit there and tolerate abusive relationships? That's an absolute
Oh,
non-truth. It's not. You are allowed to have boundaries, and guess what? You're
that's the
allowed to
other big thing that
remove
happens.
yourself from any situation you want in the world. Is it easy? Is it simple all the time? No, it is not, because we live complicated, interwoven
Yeah.
lives.
Can I
Like,
just say one thing really
you
quickly?
could say one thing really quickly.
Those are the two orbs. Like, there's how you do you and how you allow other people to treat you. Those things are the main things that change. How you
Yeah.
treat yourself, what you do, how you act, and how you allow others to act around you. And they live in harmony, because when this gets better, you don't let this happen as much anymore. Like, they mutually, they coexist, almost in balance with your and but like you said, it's very complicated. It takes time.
Like, I take those old emotional reflexes, right?
Yeah.
And I try to create a well rested Milan. I try to sleep. I try to eat better. I get
Yes.
up in the morning. I literally try to perform a ritual of events that creates, my daily reprieve contingent on, the condition of my spiritual condition, right? Like I am trying to get myself centered and whole and loving for the day. And then what do I do with all the excess shithead that still percolates like a froth at the top of Milan? I walk the hell out of it. Like I exercise it away. Why? Because I've realized that it's like, in order for me to even be able to sit through a normal conversation, I have to
Yeah.
run myself like a hunting dog. You know, I do. And
Yeah, you're a nuclear generator.
but it's okay, and I have to have a creative outlet like song in order to express to myself and observe my own progress,
Yeah.
you know. But like that then like when I get myself to my own level of joy and contentment that has nothing to do with you,
Yeah.
then it's like I'm wearing a bulletproof vest.
That's it, man. It's that
Like
security that can't be taken.
I am connected. I feel like, even if just physically and partially spiritually, I'm feeling like I'm loving myself, and that love is expressed in 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 how I'm treating myself.
It's
Like
amazing.
I'm not lying to myself anymore. Like I love myself, smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's
No,
like,
but that's
whoa,
really good. Yeah, that's really good because it's true. And there is again, that calibrates as well. Like, when we treat ourselves with respect, there is a better reflection. Like, there's going to be some people that chip away at that and don't want to see you succeed and all that other dark shit. But like, most people will be like, "Oh, this guy's really like turned his shit around. Like, I'm not just going to take a swing at him because I'm having a bad day." Like, you know what I mean?
yes, but also too, like if I'm actually at a point of feeling that grace and contentment and joy and serenity, I actually notice the toxicity of those old reflective actions. Like if I'm just existing solely in them,
Yeah.
they are the norm and the other things are the minority. But if I'm existing more in a state of goodness, I'm going to call it goodness because I just feel like good when I'm in it. Okay, like
Yeah.
I'm coining the phrase right now, trademark today, Milan, my feeling of goodness. And when I'm in goodness, I can see shithead Milan a mile away. Like I'm like, whoa. And sometimes it's like I can telegraph it before I even say the thing. Like I'm like, ooh, gotta walk out of this room right now, you know? And
Yeah.
because sometimes I won't be able to shut my mouth back to somebody, like justice, fuck,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know, and
Sure.
and so um yeah. So
And
I feel like the awareness has pointed me in a direction of, some people call it their program. and I would
Yeah.
call it my daily program of what I do to for me to stay sane, you know,
Nice. Yeah.
and keeping my life manageable is part of that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I believe it's your question, Tangler.
I think this is my last question.
Don't you worry, little question man. I've got lots. I come with 16 every time.
um, if you could speak to your pre-sober self today, what would you say? How do you think that version of you would respond?
Oh man, I don't think I was ready to listen. You know, like what would I say? Like, um, I
But
think
you can kind of intuit like that other version of you, knowing it well. You know that person intimately, and now you know who you are.
I
What would
know
you
that he
say?
wasn't ready to hear anything, but what I would like, okay, if I can, right? Like, let's imagine I like fly into the past, right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Okay, I'm imagining I'm flying into the past, and I only think one thing could have changed my mind is
Yeah.
if I could fly myself to the future and observe my joyful life in sobriety
Mm,
from like from above,
yeah.
like from a bird's eye view, because the my major crutch and argument for the last 17 years of using and drinking was that I would not find happiness in sobriety.
Yeah.
And I didn't know happy people in sobriety, you know. So like really what I think is that the only way would be to actually show my past self an example of it. And that would only happen if I came to the future, I showed the healing relationships with my family, my life, my general joy, what I'm doing musically, what I'm doing health wise, how I feel about
Yeah.
myself today. You know, like I would, it would be like there wouldn't be any words, you know, like, you know, if if I felt like any one thing would change it, it would be showing examples of happiness inside sobriety. Because really, everything else I would call a lie.
Okay.
You know, like I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna find a great amount of love and serenity and contentment, and I'd be like, I'm real happy. I'm real happy being a sensationalist. You know, like I would have had, I was a smartass, and my ego had like a million excuses as to why what you're saying wasn't gonna work for me. You know,
Totally. Yeah.
like I remember just even in conversations with friends or family members and feeling like I was out craftying them on why I shouldn't stop,
I'm
you know.
sure.
Yeah,
You were a tangler and you didn't even know it.
I was fat face Starcic, man. I was like the fattest
Yeah. The cleverest.
fat face, man. You can't see no fat face.
That's wild. So you would so that's what and then the other portion is how do you think that person would respond, or is that what you meant? Like there you wouldn't have believed them.
Like I would have I would have totally responded like I was telling a lie to myself,
Mhm.
unless I actually could show an example like that, you know, like kind of like the Christmas Carol
Yeah, yeah.
in the Ghost of
Wow.
Christmas Past. Ghost,
That's
I'm the,
good.
I'm the recovery of Christmas future, Milan.
Oh my god. Just holding a torch.
Yeah, that's right. Shink, shink, the chain sound.
Yeah.
Shink, shink.
Oh my god,
Look
I'm
at it's your
terrified.
funeral. No one's there, Milan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Why get clean if you no one's coming to your funeral?
It was, you know what? My excuse was for a long time is why get clean if I was just going to be unhappy. Because I went to one meeting like 12 years before I stopped, and
Yeah.
everybody was a miserable, depressing piece of shit. And, you know, shout out to anyone who was there. I'm sorry. But, but it was I was like, holy crap. I came home and said to Michelle, I'm like, I might be an alcoholic, but I'm not going to become a depressed alcoholic.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
It's
there,
so funny. Yeah.
unfortunately, there is some people that are straight without recovery, you know,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and great on their obstinance, but man, it sure scares off somebody thinking about getting straight.
Yeah. Yeah. There are people that scare people off. Oh well.
Hmm.
Um,
And like I don't think it's their fault.
yeah, it's all connected in some weird way. And yeah, so for me, I would tell that dude it might not be what you think or what you previously thought, but like you are going to be able to live in this life without alcohol. And I would tell that person that I love him and that he's going to be a much more valuable version of himself, for no other reason than that he knew how to sit quietly with himself and not have to add anything or take anything away. And that I think that person would respond with, thank God. Thank God. Yeah.
You think you believe you? I'm just, I find that so hard to like. If it
The
was
point the
that,
point
if
the
that was,
point I think the point of the question is that you now have these two realities, and if you could have a moment in time where you could tell that person like you're going to be okay, or there is a solution, or you are loved, and like you were right about some things and you are wrong about other things, but you're going to be okay. Like I think it's not about like idealism or like whether that person would believe or not. I think it's more like what would you tell that person, you
okay,
know?
well, I think I would change my answer then. See, I was thinking that I would have to convince myself of the veracity of what I was saying.
But that's fine because that's also a very reasonable and realistic thing, because I think you and I both know that we didn't believe this shit was possible.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. I was completely terrified. Yeah. I
Hmm.
did not. I mean, I had people come in and lend a hand. Like my mom had this guy that was a son of a guy that she knew who had been sober. This guy drove like an hour and sat with me in a car in a parking lot, and he was trying to be like a big brother and an older guy and like show me like, "Hey man, like you don't have to do this." I wasn't ready. We're not ready.
Yeah.
I had the church try to help me. I had my doctor try to help me. I had friends say, "Hey, I'm worried about you." My mom cried. Like these things, like it's not like there weren't people trying to reach me, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I could talk to that dude 10 years back, I'd be like, "Oh man, like this is going to be wild, and like you're actually going to be able to live differently. It's going to be great."
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you ready for my question? So that was your last question.
Yeah.
So, I'd be happy to go the full 2 hours. I don't know what your agenda is for time wise. If you would like to
Yeah.
voice that.
I'm going to speak up for my physical being today. I've been
Yeah.
on the computer all week and I
Yeah.
think I'm good for till like the 40 mark,
Okay.
if
Okay.
that's okay.
So then why don't we do a rapid series of a ton of questions in lightning round?
Sure.
Just to mix it up because we have not lightning and I've got a ton of questions here, a
No
lot of
problem.
which will be good. Okay, so here we go. Mr. Tangler, living clean teaches that we cannot grow spiritually while clinging to self-deception. Question: how do you stay honest with yourself when ego wants to rewrite the story?
Oh gosh, I don't know. But I think that the like first part of that is exactly right. We are cut off from spiritual growth. You can read as many books as you want, but when you're still poisoning and acting out of these defects, you're basically stuck. How do I I just think I'm better at being honest with myself, to be honest. I think that it's pretty clear when I'm full of shit now. But I also have a lot of grace. Like there are some scenarios where I still have hopes and ambitions and I want and I wish, and they come from a good place, but like, are they realistic? I don't know. I like to sometimes still daydream a little, but I think I'm better at catching myself when I'm truly deceiving myself. Yeah.
I love that. That was great. There was a lot of introspection inside 48 seconds. Okay, how do I stay honest with myself when my ego wants to rewrite the story? You know, I would say first of all that trying to surrender and trying to love completely, having these as goals, having this as something that's part of my two-way prayer, holding up what I'm thinking against honest, pure, unselfish, and loving, those four absolutes, is a pretty good filter for like bullshit. Like,
Yeah,
of a situation, like I cannot act unlovingly and think I'm being loving.
that's true.
Like, and part of this, part of what helps me stay honest with myself when my ego wants to rewrite the story is reflection about it. Like doing like my little mini step 10 constantly throughout the day to see like, hey, hold on, that wasn't so cool with that person, that wasn't so loving, that wasn't so nice, that wasn't so honest. Like I think through reflection, and sometimes that reflection happens instantly. Okay, here we go. Next one. In recovery, mindfulness becomes a mirror, showing us who we are without distortion. How has sitting in self reflection revealed both your growth and your resistance?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I also like went on a little trip where I like, you want to spiritually outgrow everything and the world is temporary and goals or whatever. And like, I think once I realized like I'm not going to get lasting, like nothing outside of me is going to fix the inside of me. So there's also a bit of a duality and like a bit of a battle that goes on there. Like, I don't want to give up on goals and like pursuing things. Like I'm in school right now and I'm starting my business and I like I believe in it, but like I just know that that's not, if it goes well, it's going to relieve other problems like the other things we worry about. But it's not going to be why I have a good relationship with myself. It might add to it, but I think what I'm trying to say is I've taken the sting out of external goals being the way that I find myself feeling like I'm a valuable human being. So I'm balancing that as best I can.
I love that. Okay, how has sitting in self reflection revealed both my growth and my resistance?
Uh-huh.
Well, I think without looking at my actions, words, thoughts, I'm not going to know my resistance or my growth really. And I think that that is the beauty of the step 10 or step 4 or whichever level depth you want to do it. Like ultimately, I now believe step 10 is really just 4 to 9 every day, like in a non-written way in some ways. And sometimes it's written. But, like I think it's okay to acknowledge when we've done something right because it's the same as saying, oh, like if we're going to put a filter on our actions, we have to be able to filter what's good. And these like
Absolutely.
essentially the growth is good, and and the resistance is a nice way of saying that we didn't grow. Like what is stopping us from growing? Yeah. Okay.
No,
Uh,
that's really
the
cool.
12 by 12 says humility is the desire to seek and do God's will, not our own. How do you recognize when your actions come from ego rather than spiritual alignment?
For me, it's because I still wonder what you're going to think about it, period.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was the fastest lightning round response ever.
Yeah. That was like,
Okay.
oof.
Yeah, dude, that was a good one. Okay, how do I recognize when my actions come from ego rather than spiritual alignment? And, for me, uh, I definitely would love to have answered like Bryant, because that was a big one. But, for someone like me, is it takes me sifting, it takes me sifting through that honest, pure, unselfish, loving? Or am I not surrendering? Am I surrendering in this situation? Do I have preference? What is my motive? And also
Motive,
the
yeah.
the ultimate situation of, am I loving completely? You know, am I keeping a record wrong? Am I being patient? Am I being boastful? Am I being kind? Like all these things that I now look at.
That's all very, very significant. Yeah.
Like I look at my day when I start my day doing my two-way prayer, I look at yesterday's stuff and evaluate where did I, like, which ones didn't I do, you know, and I can think of specific examples quickly. And then it's like, okay, today, what am I going to try to do better?
Hell yeah.
Okay, so woo, self-awareness reveals that peace is found not in control but in surrender, Bryant. Or I should say, Tony. How has surrendering the need to fix yourself opened you to deeper healing?
Yes. Um, Ooh, I think there was a portion of time where I actually was trying to just be, and then there was still all this like outside feedback, like, yes, but, oh, that's great, but, and like, when are you going to, and like, oh, you guys did that, but when are you going to do? And there's this, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, I think there's like an infinite wild stream of like otherness. And like, I don't know. It's like, I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I just think like, it's really, really, really hard, but, like, I'm gonna say something hopefully not too rude. I really don't give a fuck what anyone thinks anymore, and it's not because like, I don't give a fuck, it's like, I it took so long for me to arrive there, and it's incredibly freeing.
That was a nice sound effect for that.
Yeah.
Okay. How has surrendering the need to fix myself opened me to deeper healing? Well, you know, I would like to refer to the Great Resurrendering of March 2025, when it was pointed out by Thomas Smith that this is not a program of self improvement, this is a program of surrender. And, you know, I had rightfully surrendered my addiction at the beginning and gotten
Yeah.
extreme relief from it. But when it came to my defects, I was taking them back. I was trying to do too much work on them myself. And Milan, worst defect remover in the universe, should not be given a lifetime job of doing that. Since then, through gratitude prayer, through surrender, through seeing, you know, for praying for guidance in this, for praying for relief from some stuff, it's been life changing for me. It's been so relieving. My joy and contentment level through the roof. Why? Because I need to surrender and not try to fix myself. You know, like sitting there trying to fix myself, it's like throwing the ego at the ego.
Totally, and, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, that's not healthy to always constantly think you need fixing, you know?
No, and living clean reminds us that self acceptance is not self indulgence, it's the soil in which recovery grows. How has acceptance of your imperfections strengthened your self respect, Tony?
Yeah, I think it's that same thing. I just think like I've lived long enough now where I see the wisdom in what was suggested, like getting out of self, doing some stuff for other people, you know, participating in the function of something much bigger than yourself, cleaning up your side of the road, you know, being thoughtful, listening, showing up, trying to give more than you can take. These things all lead to like a much better kind of natural state where I can look at myself and feel within myself that like, okay, today's today. I don't have to go too far back, but like, how did I do this week? Am I being responsible, respectful? You know, am I pushing myself to see if I can grow? And I think these things are functioning. So yeah, generally there's just like a more harmonious existence. I don't know.
Did you mean harmonious or harmonious?
Horror.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so how has acceptance of my imperfections strengthened my self respect?
Mm,
Well, you know, I think part of it is that tolerance and acceptance that just allows the grace of being where you are right now. You know, I am definitely trying to seek I'm trying to, to learn, to be and grow inside my life, but it can't come at the cost of hating myself now, because that I will never allow myself to fully grow if I'm sitting in a state of disapproval and hatred of myself right now.
Yeah,
And self-respect doesn't come from a lack of love. So I have to be learning to love myself. And that involves forgiveness, acceptance, tolerance, and honesty about where I'm at instead of condemnation.
beautiful.
Okay, the
This
type,
exists, eh? Think about what we're talking about right now.
yeah,
It's so it's so intense.
I know it is intense. This is why it's called lightning round. It's electrifying. Okay, mindfulness allows us to pause, that sacred space between impulse and response where grace lives. How do you use mindfulness to keep your spiritual balance in moments of stress, Tony?
Great question. So what I would say is I felt some fear around family dynamics this last little bit of time, and then the other thing is I have some residual anger from a betrayal. I'll share these two things because that's where I feel the intensity of my emotions the most. And I'm talking like powerful at times. And so let's say it was happening on a daily basis. Now it's once a week, and it was like half an hour. Now it's 10 minutes. So that awareness, that lack of taking action or doing something or being like, I'm gonna fucking, I'm gonna go do something about this. I'm gonna just hold it down, pray, and like leave the justice to the powers that function. I think we all know that like we tend to get whatever portion of justice we deserve in some other form. So I'm not taking it into my own hands. But yeah, just that awareness, that presence, and trusting that like I can get through it and I don't have to prove it to anybody, something like that.
Yes. And how do I use mindfulness to keep spiritual balance in moments of stress? Well, I feel like in those moments of stress, I generally have 99% of my life supplied a reflexive action. And that reflexive action has nothing to do with spiritual balance. So without the mindfulness of me being able to step back and observe and to actually see, then I have no capacity even to have awareness that I'm doing it. Like it
Yeah.
takes that mindfulness even to bring the awareness, which ultimately the awareness is the first step of any change. Like whether it be through a pattern that I can help facilitate the change or whether it be through surrender. I won't know what I'm surrendering if I don't have mindfulness of the situation. And my experience recently with what I would call my flowering of my understanding of step 6 really highlighted that I need complete awareness.
Yeah.
Okay, the relationship with self matures when we learn to be present with pain instead of running from it. Tony, how has sitting with discomfort instead of escaping it deepened your recovery?
Absolutely fucked. Dude, my whole life is pain. I live with physical pain. I have like neurological challenges. I have to every single thing I do that's physical requires me breaking through a barrier of anxiety because my natural state is to avoid that pain. Like you said earlier in the podcast, you're like, we avoid pain. And like whether I'm doing push-ups, going for a hike, taking my dog out when it's like freezing cold, long drives, family things, big events with people. Like these challenge my nervous system so much. And every single time I say yes to something, I'm like, oh shit, like I'm going to have to put myself through this. And every single day I do it over and over and over and over again. And then spiritually, or like I used to live with a lot of fear of other people. That has gone down so much. Like that's the biggest change that's happened in my life. It's like speaking in front of people, showing up, holding a door, walking into a room. I feel like way more content to just be myself in social situations, but physically, I'm still very challenged with that.
And Milan, how has sitting, oh, sorry, fat face Starcic, how has sitting with discomfort instead of escaping it deepened my recovery? Well, I would say that learning to feel all my feelings instead of trying to escape them has deepened my recovery. It's okay to have the feeling it's maybe not okay for me to act out on it. You know, like I can have
Yeah,
that
definitely.
feeling, I can surrender it, and I can move on. And that involves much less paperwork on a day-to-day basis. You
Yeah,
know,
that's a huge change.
like surrendering at all to me is deepening my recovery in any form, you know, and it is really one of the massive keys to freedom. You know, it's love and surrender are the two fundamental tools that I just think will keep me clean and keep me in my state of contentment and joy and serenity.
Very nice.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more here because some of them, kind of overlap a little bit by the end here. Okay. The big book reminds us that self will was the problem, grace is the solution. How do you practice allowing grace to guide your decisions instead of fear or pride?
I think I think it's like trying to be more respectful of like other people's space and existences too, you know, like you're so convinced of who you are and what should happen in your life. Like, are you really putting yourself in other people's shoes? How many times have I been granted grace? Do I need to grant grace? Like, can I just let that go or do I need to prove a point? Like, there's just so much less trying to get the world to be the way that makes me feel better about my existence and just like letting it unfold, I guess. I love the word grace. I want more and I hope I can give it to more people as well.
Woo! Ah, I love that. Okay, so how do I practice allowing grace to guide my decisions instead of fear or pride? You know, I feel that, like was mentioned earlier, that comparison is the thief of joy. And so if I'm reacting with pride or fear, I literally feel like that's a reaction based on comparison innately. And and one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying now not to condemn others or who they are through my
Yeah.
judgment of them. And that includes myself. And it's a big thing that, like, you know, telling myself I'm wrong all the time, right? Then that, that destroys my sense of self-esteem. It
Yeah.
destroys my sense of thinking that I can get through something. That destroys my sense of self-love. And also the same with you. Like when I do that, like although you should be able to be the island of fucking serenity, the reality is that someone tells you you're wrong all the time, you're feeling like you're maybe making bad choices. And the last thing I want to do is hurt other people. So that draws this show to a conclusion. Bryant, would you like to say anything as the tangler, like with your tangly little bits?
What I would say is that, as we've discussed, it's actually pretty profound how in one life you can have so many different ideas of like how you want to be and who you think you are. And I think there's a much deeper, longer lasting truth about our essence, which has qualities to them that are irreplaceable and sadly overshadowed most of our life if we don't pay acute attention like we are talking about today through self-reflection, through awareness, through challenges, through surrender and grace and these wicked words that are so important to us. I do think it's a very real and dangerous thing to live in an isolated, contaminated mental and lonely place, which is addiction and alcoholism. And I think that you and I clearly went on a hell of a journey to be able to have this chat today.
I love you. You know, I would like to end with don't believe the hype. You know, like your relationship with yourself requires work, just like a relationship with somebody else.
Yeah.
And without that work, I wouldn't have got to know me and what really actually brings that joy, serenity, contentment to my life. And I would have been following goals that never would have brought any of that to my life, which would have left me on this hamster wheel of dissatisfaction. I think that my relationship with myself is ongoing. I'm learning stuff all the time, and I'm so grateful for the privilege to get to know myself. And everybody out there, tune in next episode for more recovery fun, because I love you. Are welcome anytime. Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.